Hey, it's Jason Rossi here at the Royale. We are in the VIP lounge, and I'm lucky to be joined with Max of the Arkells. Max, cliche as always, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good in this VIP lounge we're hanging out in, or it's just the main lobby, one or the other.
Well, to me, it's the VIP lounge, and, you know, this is the art of the mind here.
This is true. And in radio, you got to, paint a picture for everybody out there listening.
Yeah, there's like silk couches. It doesn't even make sense. It's just beautiful here. But Max, it's been a little while since I last saw you. You've been in Boston a couple times.
Yeah.
And last time around, before this new record, now record is it out? The record out?
Yeah, it came out a month ago. Just brand new.
Yeah, I'm really up on the times, as you can see. I didn't know if I get exclusives, in radio, again, theater of the mind, but we get like these cool things way ahead of time. Probably was 3 days before. But nonetheless, tell me a little bit about the album. What's going on with you right now?
Yeah, it's been really busy lately, and I guess a good thing when you're in a rock and roll band. You want to stay busy. We did the record with 4 different producers. It's called Morning Report. We wanted to do it a little bit differently this time around. We didn't want to work with one guy and hole up in a cabin in the woods. There's some rock and roll narrative where you're like, we got to go away, we got to rent a barn and make this album, and that to me seemed kind of tedious and a little daunting, and I get a little claustrophobic. I was like, can't we? So we did it between tours, which kind of kept the sessions pretty fun. So we did one song with Tony Hoffer, did our last record, who's an awesome producer. We worked with the Kooks and M83 and Fits in the Tantrums. Then we did 5 songs with Joe Ciccarelli, who's worked with My Morning Jacket and the Strokes, and he worked with Elton John, so every day I had another Elton John question about him, for him. And then we worked with 2 other guys named Brian West and Gus Van Gogh, and we had one guy mix the whole thing. And we're really happy with the way it turned out, and now we get to tour it.
Now, is that just I'm trying to think of if I were to be in your shoes, so going to different places and going to, record in different places, is that different creatively and working with all the different people, or is that kind of easy, or does it keep it fresh?
I think it keeps it really fresh because each guy has a different kind of expertise to his in-studio skill set, and so we just stole tricks from each one of them. And then if one of the guys was missing something that we knew, how would Tony Hoffer do this? And okay, then you do it this way. So I found it really exciting. And the other thing I've learned is that there's so many talented people in this business. To assume there's your one master guy that you can only work with, I think it's kind of silly. I think there's a lot of guys you can just steal tricks from.
So was that as part of that whole process, going around, where did you actually record? Were you going to different cities, different places, different countries?
Well, we did 2 songs in LA, and then we did 10 songs in Toronto, but with 2 different guys. The crazy thing is Joe Ciccarelli, he typically works at a Sunset Sound in LA, and for some reason he agreed to come to Toronto in December. It was very strange. And he doesn't need to either. He's in his 60s, and he usually has the talent come to him, but for whatever reason, he's just a very agreeable guy. And he was like, sure, I'll come to Toronto. I like Toronto. I was like, do you know it's December? He's like, it'll be fine. And it was fine. It was great.
Sounds like the type of guy who's sitting somewhere, just sipping on some coffee in a corner of the North End, some real Italian area. It's just
Well, he's actually from Boston originally, Joe Ciccarelli. But he moved out to LA when he was 19. Because and he was Frank Zappa's assistant engineer, and then that's how he got his start. He Frank Zappa's engineer quit or couldn't get his visa approved, and then Joe Ciccarelli got the gig that way, and then that's how his career was launched. But I think he's a Boston guy.
All right, we'll take it. Yeah. We'll take anything we can get.
Yeah, Italian dude from Boston.
Yeah, that's and I can tell. I can see him there just sipping on a little, or maybe scooping a little gelato, whatever it may be. We can get into his Wikipedia page later. But back to you, back to the Arkells, back to 2016. Yeah. So what's going on with your life? So the touring's going well so far. I'm sure it's the mixed bag of touring. I could never imagine what it's like to go from city to city, night after night. But what is it like being you right now? New music out there. There's people singing along with some of the new tunes. Just a lot of people discovering you hopefully on this tour. So what is that like?
It's really cool. The band kind of lives 2 different lives, and we kind of like it that way, actually. In Canada, we've been touring there a lot, and we have a real support, and we put up 2 shows at Massey Hall, which is the legendary theater where Neil Young played in the 70s. It's 5,000 tickets, and they sold out in a day. And it was crazy. And that's going to be the biggest show we've ever done, and we're announcing more Canadian stuff soon. And then when we come down here, it's kind of we got to kind of fight for every piece, but it's cool. And so we're opening for the Congos and Joy Formidable on this run, and it's a really good fit, and it's an opportunity to play for like-minded music fans. And actually, we just got off a run with Frank Turner, and we're doing more dates with Frank at the end of the month. And I don't want to announce too much other stuff, but there's going to be some more Frank stuff in 2017. And his audience is like the perfect audience for us. And Frank is like, we've only known him for a couple weeks, but he's been the most supportive dude. He's like posting our stuff on his Facebook and things like really just total kindred spirits. And he has an affinity for Canadian musicians. Like his favorite band ever is the Weakerthans, who are a band from Winnipeg, and they are the reason why I met our guitar player Mike D. Like in first day of university, college, I asked him like what kind of music he liked to listen to. He was like just meeting people, and he said, I like this band called the Weakerthans, and they are my favorite band, and that's Frank Turner's favorite band. So there's a lot of sort of common interest, and the spirit of his show is something I really identify with. So it's fun. So it's really good. You got to, brick by brick down here, and that I think is a cool thing.
Yeah, so as Americans, we don't make anything easy. We don't have that airplay thing either. That's going to be the greatest thing in the world. Like if I were to start a band tomorrow, I'd be like, oh, I'm Canadian. Yeah. Play my music, mofos. Like, you need to. Yeah,
well, yeah. I mean, I think it's an important thing. It definitely helps the Canadian bands get a leg up. And the reason why I think it's important is that Canadians are generally infiltrated with so much American media. So if the only place where, if they didn't have these sort of rules and regulations to find music would be through American channels. So it's nice that there's a way to sort of help celebrate Canadian culture. And there's a lot of kind of rules and ideas that help to push that agenda. And I think Canadians appreciate it generally.
Yeah, speaking about agenda, who are you going for? You think Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump? What do you think?
Honestly?
No, forget about that.
No, I want to say one thing, though.
No, I'm kidding.
We have a lot of time in the van on these tours, and the last, 6 months have just been, the best type of band fodder, just the shit that Donald Trump says every day. It's just we start licking our lips, and we'll talk about it for 2 hours straight. It really kills time in the van, which is something we appreciate. So, if anything else, thank you, Donald, for giving us a lot of content to wax on.
Exactly. Instead of just all you guys separately on your phones or something.
Yeah, which is typically what happens otherwise.
Yeah. So let's talk about My Heart's Always Yours. Yeah. How did this record come about?
Yeah, it came together. That song was written really quickly. It was written in one afternoon, and it was. I've been telling the story on stage. My girlfriend and I, we're happily together now, but we went on a two-week hiatus. When couples do that, when they're we need a break from each other. And those things always suck, and it's always weird, and you don't know what to do. But I got 3 good songs out of it for the record. So I told her, I was and I'm a little dry right now. So I said, if you need to break up with me for a couple weeks, just to get the writing process going, I'll take it. But
what a romantic thing to say. Listen, honey,
listen, but I'll get some songs about you, and you'll like that long term. Think about it, those songs will live forever.
That's true.
Yeah, 2 weeks is only 2 weeks.
Really, and in the long term of things. Now, real quick before we get back to it, when you break up for 2 weeks, now do you say you've been together the whole time, or is that do you start after the 2 weeks?
She was the one who introduced the idea, and she's now in retrospect doesn't feel good about it. So she's it doesn't count. We never broke up.
Now, do you think she doesn't feel good about it because you're a frontman in a band that travels the world? Because let's be real, people are throwing their panties at you on a nightly basis, whether you want to admit it or not.
No, you know what? She is wise beyond her years, and she hasn't that part of her brain that most people have that just would get jealous over just the attention a guy at the front of the stage might get. She just doesn't have. The only thing she cares, she's in school during her MBA and is going to be a nurse and is living her own life. So she's not too wrapped up in what Max is doing on stage. She's just oh, Max isn't here right now. That kind of sucks, which happens a lot. But no, but in terms of the song, we wanted I think the older I get, the more comfortable I am with writing something from a simple emotional place and not veiling it too much. I think when I was younger, if I wanted to write something sensitive, I would veil it in some shitty poetry. But now I'm just you know what? Let's just be straightforward and honest with it. And so it's if time is what it takes, I'll be here, I'll be waiting for you, which is a very simple sentiment.
But it's beautiful, dude. It really is. Me and my girlfriend were listening to it. We've never gone on a 2-week hiatus, just so you know, so we're better than you. No, I'm kidding. But seriously, we probably wanted to go on 2-week hiatus, but we're both scared that, probably not as much her for me, but me for her. It's you're pretty, don't leave. But honestly, but we were listening to it, and she grabbed me when we were listening, because, being in radio, I just get, tons of music, and we're always listening, and I'm going to ask you about this in a second, but she's kind of just yeah, that's what he does. She works in the industry, but in a different side. She makes money. And the deal is, she was listening. She's just can you play that one again? I really liked it. And it always makes me feel good when I hear her say that, because I feel like I have like a heart and I have an ear for certain music, but whenever like someone who isn't super passionate about music, like she grabs, there's been like maybe 5 songs in all the time that I've always just listened to music, and she'll be like, oh, play that again. And we were sitting down, we were talking about you a little bit, and I was talking about how, you know, the song is new and all, and last time you were around in like Leather Jacket and some of the cool tunes. I was like, these songs are like, I feel like I could turn on while I'm driving or going out, and I really love it. And this one just has that different vibe, but this is what I mean. Like, I feel like it's more adaptable to people, and it just has a little more, not to say it's in the wrong way, but just has that heart and feel to it.
Totally, you know, and like as schmaltzy as like somebody like Sting can be, like I kind of have a soft spot for Sting. It's, you know, or like I think Brandon Flowers from The Killers is also really good at writing like emotive ballads that are still cool. So that's always the trick, is like writing something that's still cool as hell, but has like real emotion, and you're not afraid to sort of lay it all out there. Yeah.
Now, does your girlfriend like think what you do is cool?
You know, she. This is awesome. She is really sort of practical about her everything in her life, and she knows I really like this job. Like, it's a kind of a dream job. Like, we get to run our own little small business, and we get to see a lot of interesting places, and every day I get to wake up and I get to think about, okay, what do I want to do today to help the band? And, you know, it's really like a family, like, shop. And so she's happy for me in that I have a job that I like. Because that's ultimately what you want your partner to have. It's just like a job that doesn't make them miserable.
Yeah. So basically you don't have to hear about it all day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very pragmatic on her end. Yeah. But no, so I think and once in a while, because she comes to some shows, she doesn't come to that many shows though, and she'll go, after she's like, I totally forgot you do that all the time. It was really good. Like, she'll be kind of like shocked by it. I'm like, yeah, all the time. But I'm also kind of spin that you don't even think about that. I kind of like that.
Yeah, and the only reason I ask is because totally different. Obviously, you're touring the world, but like being like on the radio or like doing events or talking with like musician acts, all these different people all the time. It's like sometimes I want to be like, hey, you know, like I had this really awesome day. It was like the coolest thing. I have this cool job, and it's like she doesn't, like my girlfriend. Not that she doesn't care. It's just like she doesn't think of it that way. And with the way you were speaking about your girlfriend a moment ago, I was like, I feel like there's something to that, and it may make it better though.
Oh, totally. Well, I think it makes it better because you don't want to be with somebody who's just like, whoa, just like sort of looking up at you like you're some kind of god or something like that. Like, I wouldn't want my girlfriend to think, because she definitely doesn't think that.
No, but just in the bedroom every so often. But, you know, that's a different interview on that one.
But yeah, so I think, I think when you're thinking about, this is getting into like a relationships 101 conversation, but it's mostly just like, does your partner like have a job that they like and are fulfilled in that area of their life?
Are you getting married?
You know what? I'm 29, and all my friends are getting married. And right now, it's crazy wedding season. Lauren's 24. She just turned 24. She's 6 years younger, and so I got a little bit of time to work with. And she's got more school to do and shit, so it's fun.
Yeah, you don't want to interrupt the school with like, But no, it's funny. I'm 31, okay, so like all my friends, like the marriage thing is just ended, and it's so funny. Like being on tour, I can only imagine. Like, do you get to go to their weddings?
You know what? I've missed a couple of important weddings. I sort of worked it around. I was able to make a bunch. Like, actually, a couple weekends ago, we played New York on a Thursday. We drove home overnight, which is like 9 hours, and I was in a wedding party for a wedding on the Friday. So there's a couple close calls, but for the most part, I've been pretty good about making them. Can you make that call, or is that just by pure luck of like tour, like, or are you picking what dates to go on? Or it's you kind of cross your fingers that the calendars line up okay. But actually, Mike in our band though got married on New Year's Eve this year, so we had no gig on New Year's Eve this year because we were all at his wedding. It was awesome. It was really good.
That's a gig all on its own.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, drunken gig. Yeah.
So now, obviously, it seems like you have a good spirit about you. You obviously, like you said, you're a month into this, with the new album, the new music. Where you're at right now, you kind of said you're running your own kind of mom and pop shop. Like, when a single is out there, when it comes to you, like being the man that fronts the band, you got your family, your traveling family, the people you don't really want to see all that often. Just talk about Trump. But honestly, like, what is it like when there's music out there that you're trying to get people at? Whether it be radio or all these streaming services or like gyms, I don't even know. Like, what is it like to be on your side of like, you're creative, you came up with the song, now it's out there. Do you just let people do their jobs, or are you ever like, hey, what's going on with this? How can we make this better? Or is it just kind of like, let me go out and play shows and do what I can?
It's a good question. I like there's a creative element to like thinking about how to like get the music out there, and that's making like an acoustic version of it, or making sure you update your social media or post a live clip of it. And I kind of think there's a bit of an art form in that, and I like that. And we have a really good team. Like our management and label are awesome, actually, and we've never had such support as we do right now. I personally, I like jumping around from thing to thing. So I'm not I don't have the attention span to like really pay attention to much for anything more than like 10 minutes, and then I'm like, all right, on to the next thing. So my brain actually works pretty well, like thinking about, maybe I'll read in the morning in the van. I'll read for 20 minutes, like a book, and then maybe I'll try to write some lyrics down, and then I'll send some emails, and then I'll go on Twitter. I'm just kind of jumping around. But I read a thing on Kanye, and he's just going around, like when he's in the studio, he's just barking at people and looking at porn and just like doing one thing after the next. And I was like, yeah, I'm like Kanye.
That sounds like the greatest job. Like, you thought you had a good job until you found out that guy's running around barking at people and looking at porn. Like, does it get better than that?
Yeah, he's like playing video games. He's in Malibu. He's like telling producers to pull up beats. He's like, nah, I don't like that one. Ooh, I like that one, but take out the bass. And he's just like yelling at people, and he's like looking at porn. He's playing video games. He's like, oh, I got to shoot some hoops right now. And I like shooting hoops too. So, you just tell yourself to make yourself tell yourself things to make yourself feel better. Yeah. So I just say I'm like Kanye West.
I like it. So basically, I can see the Arkells Kanye West combo coming up next after this ringing endorsement of Kanye West.
No, that'd be something.
It would. Well, before I let you go and actually go, play instruments and be, that celebrity guy who's on the stage and the panties getting thrown at you and all that. But the way it just made me think. Kanye West yelling at people, telling them I want this, I want that, joking or non-joking, that may actually really be the way it is. But you don't do that. You guys sit down, you write records, you should I say, like, you write your own music, you guys come up with stuff, you work with these creative people. Do you believe that's the right way of music? Like, I feel like that is it. Like, that's where music comes down to, like, coming down to, like, creative minds, being in a band, using great producers who have, given you many answers about Elton John's underwear, but now, like, just sitting down and being, like, your family, coming up with something great and then putting it out there. Like, I feel like that's what makes rock and roll timeless.
I totally agree, and I think I've gotten better as the years have gone on with like admiring everybody's like particular skill set and knowing what everybody brings to the table and appreciating that, and that comes from music or the live show or just like Mike D is working on, our guitar player is like working on an ad mat for our winter tour, and I was like, oh, he's so good at that. So I think. I think it's really important to like appreciate the people you have around you, and when we're collaborating on things, I like being blown away by the guys in the band. There's a great podcast called Song Exploder. Have you heard of this? It's awesome. I highly recommend it. It's like they're 15, 20-minute episodes, and the host interviews a band and how they wrote one song. So they had Wilco, Spoon, Carly Rae Jepsen, Fantagram just put one up, Wilco, Jeff Tweedy from Wilco is interviewed for how they wrote one song, and he just talks about like, I love the process of discovery and the process of putting your ego aside and just like letting the creative process happen very organically. And I love that podcast because it's you learn all these little tricks from each one of these guys about like how they write their music, and I think I really identify with what Tweedy says. It's just like, enjoy the process. Actually, you know what? I know the Red Sox just lost, but
that's okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
Really, no need to bring that up whatsoever in this interview. Like, I don't know where that came from.
No. There's a great sort of semi-related quote. So Joe Madden, who's the coach of the Cubs, of course, he has this expression that they have on the dugout, and it says, "Don't let the pressure exceed the pleasure." And which I love. It's like you can either get worked up about any given sort of quote unquote pressure-filled situation you're in, or you can just enjoy it and realize that the reason why there's quote unquote pressure in the first place is that it's important, and the fact you're in a position that you're doing something that's important, that's kind of cool. So don't let the pressure exceed the pleasure. So that's why I try to take that attitude into a lot of things.
I love it, and I love the fact that you listen to podcasts about other bands to inspire yourself. That's great.
There's a really good Weezer one. Rivers talks about how he wrote one of the songs on the new record, and he's a madman. He's like a scientist. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a little scary too, but that's a whole nother subject. But again, Max, yeah, exactly. From the Arkells, thank you for your time, man. I really appreciate it. This is awesome. Like a genuine guy, and that's again what it comes down to me, from my standpoint, in this little world that I get to be a part of, this rock scene in Boston. It's like meeting people that are genuinely real people that I feel are putting out a product that is replicating them in their band. That's what's important, and you're doing that. So just keep doing what you're doing, and that whole pleasure thing, more pleasure.
More pleasure.
Yeah, we need more pleasure. But honestly, thank you for your time.
Thank you. That was fun. That was great.